It's now 5:30, and I'd like to call to order the Carson City Airport Authority's monthly board meeting. To begin, since Harlow was last to sit, would you please do the pledge for us?
We have to do roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's do roll call first then.
Chair Pulitz,
Present.
Vice Chair Norvell, Treasurer Rogers, Member Golden,
Here.
Member Hamilton, Member Horton, Member Hutter.
Here.
The quorum is present.
Now let's go with the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Harlow. I'm sure all of you've had a chance to review the minutes of our past meeting. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes as written?
I'll move to approve the minutes as written.
Second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, minutes pass. The chairman reserves the right to modify the agenda in order to most effectively process the agenda items. Items may be taken out of order, items may be combined for consideration by the authority, and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. For public comment, members of the public who wish to address the airport authority may speak on agendized and non-agendized matters related to the airport. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person or topic. If your item requires extended discussion, please request the chairman to calendar the matter for a future airport authority meeting. And the public may provide public comment in advance of a meeting by written submission to the following email address: manager@flycarsoncity.com, for inclusion or reference in the minutes of the meeting. Your public comment must include the full name and address and be submitted via email by not later than 5 p.m. the day before the meeting. The Carson City Airport Authority values your input. Members of the public who wish to provide live public comment may do so during the designated public comment periods indicated on the agenda in person. Now with that, we are going to go ahead and move on to the airport engineer's report. Oh, is there any comments? Oh, okay. Wait a second there. Okay, please sit down, turn on the mic, there's a button in the front, and introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Chair and Authority. Denny French, Carson City, Nevada. I just barely got here by the skin of my teeth. Thank you very much for the fact the timing was perfect on the comment. I have a bit of concern. I am in your flight path, which is not such a concern now that the freeways, the airplanes tend to want to go a little higher. So I'm not seeing the undercarriage nuts and bolts, and that's great. So no hard feelings. I moved there knowing you all were there, and I'm looking forward to your growth being considerate and supportive of the neighborhoods and of the community. Thank you. My concern is that lead fuel still used in the planes there or not. I'm not really sure. I didn't have a chance to. It's not on your agenda, I understand that, but hopefully someone will be able to answer that later. It's up to your discretion on that. But I just wanted to let you know, have all your pilots know, I appreciate they're keeping their planes up so I don't worry about them when they come over. I have heard a few that could use tune-ups, I think, but for the most part, thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody care to comment?
Well, I might just add that if there are any concerns of that nature that, govern the operability or operations of the airport, that our airport manager is very capable of answering those questions for you and providing you, sufficient detail to satisfy your question.
Thank you.
I would encourage you to take that up with him.
Oh, I appreciate that very much, and I have in the past, and I got a very favorable response in that they took my information and considerations and concerns to heart, and I appreciate that. Today, my biggest concern is to get myself educated on what fuels are still being used. Thank
If
you
I might
very.
make a quick comment, the leaded fuel issue is going hand in hand with the FAA, with the the Federal Aviation Administration. And the issue is safety with trying to develop an unleaded fuel that does not damage the operations of these piston engines. And they are making progress. There are some test fuels out there that are being analyzed, but at this point, our airport is not one of those sites yet, but it is coming. It's just going to be slower than you all would like.
Well, actually, my little vehicle was having trouble transitioning to the new fuels, and it was made for them. So I understand
Yeah.
your issues.
So
Thank you.
so it's happening, but just try to be patient. Thanks.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Paul.
But there are a number of aircraft flying at the airport that are flying on unleaded fuel.
There are some, yes. Next, for public comment. We have a little button on the front for, yep, and then please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Michaela Flint. I'm a flight instructor through Paul's Flight School Sport Aviation Center. Pleasure to be here. I just wanted to thank the airport crew for being very responsive and quick. The other week, me and my student had a flat tire in the run-up, and I called Corey, and he got someone out there to help us right away. And so I just want to say thank you for that. And yeah, it's nice to meet you guys. Okay, that's all. Sorry, I'm a little stage fright, so.
Thanks, Michaela. Do you want to respond to that, Corey, or is it fine?
Sure. I very much appreciate that. You know, public comments are not always as positive as the public comments we received today, so thank you.
Oh, and I wanted to thank you, Corey, for putting in an effort to try and track down that aircraft where we almost had that runway incursion. So thank you for putting in the effort for that, even though we didn't find them.
No problem. Thanks.
Any other public comment at this time? If not, we're going to move to the engineer's report.
Yep, so this is Brian Martinez-Molos, Wood Rogers. This last month, the main efforts have been focused on the ACIP, and that is an agendized item, so I think I'll just leave any discussion for that topic, but otherwise I have nothing else to add, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Brian outside of the AIP? Go ahead, Carl.
Oh, well, I would be remiss if I didn't at least ask if there was any breaking news on progress on the nighttime approach.
So that's not a Wood Rogers project, so I'll let Corey touch on that
okay.
one.
Right, that's a transitional.
So we got an update from Armstrong on both the snow removal equipment building progress and the offset PAPI and the snow plow, and it's essentially no change from the last meeting. Lead times on materials are the delay for the offset PAPI. Permit is the delay for the SRE building, and the snow plow is anticipated this summer. I can say that Winnemucca Airport did receive their plow, which they ordered about 3 months before ours. So that's promising.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. With that, we can move on to our consent agenda items. We have two consent agenda items today. One is okay. If everybody has read the consent agenda items, and if there's no one that has any comments, questions, or concerns, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
I'll do so, Chairman Pulis. I'd move to accept the consent agenda as submitted.
Okay, do I hear a second? Okay, Mr. Hamilton seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, consent agenda items pass. Now we're going to move on to public hearings. We only have two tonight. The first is for discussion and possible action to approve the FAA Airport Capital Improvement Plan, ASIP, for the 2024 through 2025. Staff summary, please.
Okay, so every year we look at the Airport Capital Improvement Plan. It needs to be approved by the Airport Authority and by the city. The Capital Improvement Plan is not a guarantee of funding, but it is the plan that will be looked at by the FAA to consider funding for the airport. There have been some changes to the ASIP, kind of the structure over what we've had previously. The new structure of the ASIP is to have design and construction grants alternate years. So essentially, we are doing a construction project every year while planning for the next project in the same year. Historically, we've been awarded large groups of construction projects all at once. This will kind of spread things out. It'll be hopefully will be easier for the FAA to approve these projects. They're also more likely to approve a construction project if design has already been completed for it. So looking at that new structure, in fiscal year 24, we have an RSA drainage and improvement project. This is very likely to be approved, as this is $150,000, which is the airport's entitlements through the Airport Improvement Program. Also, we have a focused planning study and 25% design and environmental assessment for runway extension. This project we are not quite as confident about, but we did have a follow-up meeting with the FAA about this topic in particular, which is promising. That's not something that the FAA has done with us before. Historically, the runway extension has been pushed back each year. I think that our chances of getting this approval are higher than they've been in the past. We've also changed the structure of that project to start out with this focused planning study. So instead of starting out with design, by starting with a focused planning study, we would be able to provide the FAA with the justification that's needed in order for them to approve the full design and construction of the runway extension. And then you can see moving forward, fiscal year 25, the construction of the drainage project would take place in fiscal year 25. And keep in mind, this is FAA fiscal year, which is a little bit different than our fiscal year calendar. Final design for the runway would be in that year. Design for terminal building replacement would be in that year. There we also have pavement rehab for main apron and north apron. One thing that the FAA did tell us is that if we do get approval for the runway extension projects, we would likely have our other projects pushed back. The runway extension is such a large project that the funding may not be available for all of our other projects. So our hope is that that will be approved, and if that is in fact the case, these rehab projects will be pushed back. I've taken that into account into the Carson City Airport Authority funded capital projects, which are going to include large pavement maintenance projects moving forward to make sure that these rehab projects aren't detrimental to the pavement at the airport. We'll make sure that the pavement is maintained to be able to last a little bit longer so that it'll be acceptable for these rehab projects to be pushed back. That's already addressed in our budget, which was tentatively approved at the last meeting, where we have already put money for pavement maintenance. The other projects are much farther down the line, but you'll see they follow the design construction process, and they're all projects that have been included in the ASIP in the past. And let's see, does Wood Rogers have anything else to add to that? All right, that's all that I've got.
Okay, comments, questions?
Apron, would we tear all the pavement out or just go over the top of it, or how would that actually happen?
So the projects are actually defined as to if they're reconstruction or not. The ramp rehabilitation projects are just rehabs. They're not full reconstruction. But if you look at farther down the road,
So what would that be? They sand it down and seal the cracks?
so that would likely be crack seal and slurry. Which Wood Rogers, you can comment on that if there's anything addition.
Yeah, I mean, from a rehab standpoint, you can look at it sometimes as a fog seal, kind of at regular intervals, even sometimes a small mill and fill, but not a full reconstruct. Full reconstruct would generally be replacement of the entire pavement structure, oftentimes the underlying base course as well. So rehab would be really just getting that pavement to continue to last longer and extend the life of it, where a reconstruction is the condition has gotten to a point where we can't maintain it anymore, and so we start over with a reconstruct.
So you'll see under fiscal year 26, there's a reconstruct taxiway Bravo project. So that is a full reconstruction of pavement, while the rehab projects are more along the lines of the crack seal slurry. So hopefully that answers your question.
Any other comments, questions? John?
Federal fiscal year 24, is that over in October of 24, or does that start in October of 24? Over.
That is
Okay.
over in
Yeah,
24.
October of 24 will be the beginning of FAA fiscal year 25.
Got it. Okay, great. Just wanted to be clear on that.
Yeah, so the projects wouldn't be completed within fiscal year 24. They would just be awarded within fiscal year 24.
Good. Thanks for the clarification. There's a third item in the fiscal 24 that has no money attached to it. What is it? Extend runway 927 EA. Why is that there? What does it mean?
That does have a financial value attached to it. It's through the bill grant at 200,000.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
1,000 federal, 13,333 local match. And the environmental assessment is a critical part of the design for any federally funded project.
I just didn't know what the acronym meant. Thanks.
Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, so, well, John beat me to the first question, which was remind us what the timing of the federal government's fiscal year is. So thanks, John. The second one I had is, and maybe it's a silly question, but in the context of a runway extension construction, is that priced and proposed as we will go in and extend the runway to the 800-foot additional length, and at least in the scope of that project and money, ignore the remaining 6,000 feet of it? So there's nothing built in that says we build this extra 800 feet and resurface the whole thing, right? It's just a truly standalone process where you get 800 feet of brand new runway and then figure out what you're going to do with the rest of it.
That is just the extension.
Okay.
That is definitely just the extension. Although, anytime you see a design and construction rotation like this, the price of that project will probably change in the future.
Sure.
Once design is complete, then we'll actually know what that's going to cost us. Right now, it's a guess.
Follow-up question then, given what we have historically understood to be the conditions that need to be put in place to do that extension, would that scope of the scope of that project also include any necessary changes and movement to Taxiway Charlie where it goes around the corner?
Yes, and also in future ASIPs, that will actually be broken down.
Gotcha.
So in future ASIPs, you'll see the lighting will be broken out, the taxiway work will be broken out, and the runway extension will be broken out. That will likely end up happening before this goes in front of the city. Although the total numbers are going to be the same. So we should have those items broken out, although it won't be a change in the ASIP, it's just a change in the breakdown of what the costs are for. And then, of course, after design, all of those numbers will be way more accurate.
Thanks.
Any other comments? Questions? Any comments or questions from the public? No? Okay, then, oh, okay. Didn't see him.
Denny French, Carson City. Thank you very much. I had some problems getting to your extra added information, and I'll work that out with someone here to see what I'm missing. But I also wanted to let people know why I'm using the binoculars. Got a little bit of an allergy situation going on, and vision has been a little blurred, not confiscated, but I didn't want you to feel uncomfortable with me scoping you. I just carry those along, and it happened to help today.
All right.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other comments or questions? All right. Any members, any more discussion? Then if no more discussion, I'd like to call on a member to make a motion.
I'll move to approve the ASIP as presented.
Will there be a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Brian. I do want to comment that I did have a chance to sit in on the meeting that was held with the FAA and Brian's team, and it was very interesting to see how they worked together. It was a nice cooperative problem-solving session last week to get this ASIP to the point where it's at. So I do appreciate the fact that people are working together. Okay, our second and final agenda item is for discussion and possible action. Review and approve airport emergency plan revision. Staff summary, please.
Okay, so the airport emergency plan revision was originally completed by Rick Lee and Cody Polchowski. Their revisions were adding a checklist and mostly updating existing information to be current. After that was completed, Curtis Horton completed a review and identified some other issues for us to address. And so we addressed his concerns as well. And then we gave it to John, the Carson City Fire Department Emergency Manager, for review. And he had comments about the formatting of it, so we implemented his changes as well. So most of the content of the plan is mostly the same, but the format is fairly significantly different with how it's all laid out. But I'm really happy with where it is today. I would really appreciate Curtis's work on this and bringing his findings to our attention, and John's assistance with it as well. And that's pretty much all that I have for it. If anyone has any more questions about it, I'd be happy to answer them.
Go ahead, Mr. Golden.
I have a comment. First off, I got to say, it's a really well thought out plan. And I think you've put a lot of effort into it, and I've seen many of these in more than one industry. This is not unique to aviation. Businesses have plans of this nature, and that's kind of where I'm going with this. I think that you've really done a great job with this. That said, I would encourage the airport authority to approve the plan as presented. However, I'm going to make a suggestion to staff, something that the airport authority doesn't need to approve, but I think that Corey, you and Rick should put this together. Get a one-page summary of this plan so that when there's an emergency,
staff is not going through dozens of pages looking for things. Get it laminated and put it where it needs to be, where people can see it. If you don't do that, something like this is a dust collector, and all the work you've put into it, unfortunately, will be tossed aside in a true emergency. There needs to be a summary checklist, if you will, that draws out all the critical information from this plan onto one sheet of paper. So that's my comment, and it is only a suggestion. But when I look at this, you got 32 pages here. That's a lot for someone to go through in the event of an emergency.
That actually is one of the changes with Appendix A.
Mm-hmm.
Appendix A is the initial response checklist.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's one of the additions, and we have actually always had one that I had put together that is in all of the airport vehicles.
Okay.
This is just more making it more formal.
Right.
And my list is actually still a little different than what's in here. It includes a little bit more data. So we are definitely going to be doing that. So
Okay.
thank you.
Just a suggestion, that's all.
The annual staff training and review is a great idea too. I know you're working on that as well. So that keeps it fresh in everybody's mind as much as possible.
Right. I also agree with Mr. Golden. I think that the plan is well done. It's very thorough. It addresses some things that we've experienced just in the last year that we found that we could have been more efficient and more inclusive on how we handle things. And so I find it to be extremely well-written, and I fully support the way it's written as it's written right now. Any other comments? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Hamilton.
Yeah, the Appendix A here, initial response checklist for aircraft incident accident. There's Corey and I have talked a number of times about who do you call to notify, and we go back and forth a little bit on what the priority should be. But I just want to congratulate him for putting my suggestion in here. Greatly appreciated. And it's not, I notice it's not numbered, so there's no priority of as far as who does what, when, where. So that's a decision that happens on the fly here. The other thing is that one of the things that I've actually worked on this thing in, previous, we'll call it lifetimes. And one of the things that we have in here now that is so important that we didn't have before is a crane service to get aircraft off that runway. So I just want to thank Corey for doing that. It looks like some of the phone numbers are blacked out. I guess you don't want us to call them directly?
Yeah, those are personal phone numbers
Personal phone
for
numbers.
direct contact.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, very good. So yeah, I think it's a great response plan, and I just want to congratulate us for getting that one missing item, well, two missing items for that matter on here. So I fully support this.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments from the members or from the public? Okay, no more comments or questions. With that, I think that we can go ahead and we can call for a vote. Would someone like to make a motion?
Do we have a motion? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the revision of the airport emergency plan.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. With that, we move on to the airport manager's report. Corey Jenkins.
Okay, so we've had a ongoing crack seal project along taxiway Charlie and Bravo. The initial scope of that project is complete. There will likely be more maintenance in that area in the future, but that particular project is complete. we already talked about the ASIP in detail, but I have some information here about the follow-up meeting. We're also preparing a letter. Kaufman and Associates is actually going to prepare this letter to the FAA, identifying very specifically all of the reasons and justification for the runway extension. We've provided the FAA with letters of support from tenants and aircraft owners, but they're requesting more detail. So I've asked Kaufman and Associates to put that together. They will be pulling information from our master plan and from the studies that were all done for the justification for this, as well as aircraft performance data that will support the runway extension. That will probably help us in hopefully getting those two projects for fiscal year 24 approved. Tentative budget was submitted to the state in the format that they require it. And also, as a part of that, we had to pick a date for the hearing for the final budget. That date was selected as May 21st at 5:30 p.m. And we put it down as the airport terminal building, so we were kind of short notice on picking that date. We won't have any conflicts by doing it at the terminal building. We'll make sure that the board members will be able to participate virtually. I think that maybe today, as a administrative item, we could discuss about whether or not to move the May meeting to the 21st entirely, or if we would like to hold two meetings and for that to be a special meeting. That might be something that the board might want to discuss today before we leave here, while we have everybody present. The Chamber Leadership Institute. I was not able to attend the monthly meeting because I had a conflict this month. However, I'll be making up that day by attending another chamber event. The amphitheater restoration work has begun and is nearly complete. So if anyone would like, you could actually go and see the mural that was put up at the amphitheater today. It is really coming together. It's going to be a really beautiful area. Airport operations. So airport operations and maintenance staff has begun an alternating 4-10 schedule. So now there is airport staff present at the airport 7 days a week and for 2 additional hours per day. It's very early, so we haven't really had any feedback on how well they're appreciating it, but it should be a better schedule for them as well. Let's see. There was an aircraft incident. Well, that was an accident, actually. There were no injuries. The response was smooth, and it was a very quick aircraft recovery. A few aircraft did have to divert to Minden during the recovery until the runway was reopened, but it seemed to everyone was very understanding over the radio. Fuel flowage. Annual change is a 52% increase over last year, which is significant. I guess last year we were still dealing with snow, which is hard to believe, but I'm pretty sure that's the primary reason why that's the case. The operations numbers, however, are almost identical. They were literally within like 3 to 5 of last year. This is another indication that there's larger aircraft utilizing the airport. The airport operations numbers we had, detailed listed below. And that's all that I have for the manager's report.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from public members? Corey, regarding the, I have only comment regarding the meetings where we're going to have a special meeting next month, and we're considering trying to possibly move and have just one meeting accommodate both. Is that something we could just do from like a little email correspondence when we can all look at our calendars and kind of just discuss that a little more efficiently?
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem at all.
Does anybody have any problems either way? If we have a special, it's gonna be available online as well as in person. Should be a real quick one, but if anybody has an objection, I'd like to,
At the time we've discussed.
yeah.
Yeah, the special meeting, there has to be a meeting on that date and time,
Mhm.
on the 21st at 5:30 PM. But the question is, do we still hold a regular meeting that month, or just move it to that date?
I think you should also look at, do we need to hold a regular meeting? Do we have anything else?
Well, that's
For the-
it. We could put all in that one special meeting and just. call
Right.
that, yeah.
Do you need to? Is it what you got
Yeah.
on the agenda, or do you have anything on the agenda?
I know there will be at least one item on the agenda. It's to do with the fire department parcel
Could
and
put
the
it,
airport parcel.
could put it on the 21st.
Yeah, it could be,
Yeah.
for sure.
So if there's no objection, Corey will put this out to us and see if we can possibly put it all together. And if it works, we'll do it over at the terminal building.
And I can add on to that for June. June, the current scheduled meeting is on a holiday. So in June, that meeting's going to also need to be rescheduled.
What holiday, Corey?
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth, okay. Just for the May meeting, just a note, after, assuming that we all reach agreement on, it's on the budget, and then we all have to sign it. So just from an administrative standpoint, just be aware that
Okay.
that's going to be required.
Yeah, the budget will be on that agenda.
Okay. All right. Anything else? If not, we're going to move on to the legal counsel report.
I have nothing additional to report tonight.
Nothing from Mr. Takis. How about the treasurer's report?
I just want to note that I don't see a board packet on the website, so I wasn't able to pull that up.
Just refresh. It'll come up.
Oh, okay.
Happens sometimes.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
And John, none of the treasurer's report items made
got it,
on the
got
board
it.
packet.
Which is-
There's no items on the board packet.
Oh, okay. So I guess the board hasn't had a chance to look at the financials. As always, Corey and I look at them in detail. And as has been in previous years, we are cruising into the end of the fiscal year in very fine shape. No special issues or things that need to be brought up to the board, obviously, and we can answer questions at any time.
Okay. Thank you. Well, that's, any other reports or comments from authority members? Last chance for public comment. None taking the invitation. So we'll find out what the agenda for the regular meeting will be in the next week or a few weeks. We'll find out what the agenda items will be for the next meeting. And with that, I think I can pronounce, yes, go ahead, Harlow. Do you want something? No? Then I can call this meeting adjourned.
Bruce?